Well, good morning, everybody. Gracie and I have been out front installing a brand new gate opener.
Mm-hmm. Did you help me? Yeah, she did. Yeah. Gracie was out there the whole time with me. Yes, she was. That's right out on the road, and well, if there's one thing around here that's dangerous for Gracie, and it's the road and cars. And boy, I'll tell you, she knows it. Because when she saw me working out there this morning, I had I pulled the car out there because I had all my tools and everything in it, and the gate openers. And she saw the car and she says, "Oh, wow, Bill's out at the road." And so Gracie came out carefully. And she looked at me and she says, "Bill, you sure you want to be out here by this road?" I said, "Yeah, I got to work on the gate, Gracie. It broke." And she says, "All right, well, I'll stay." And she did. But, man, I mean, she never got out from underneath the car. She'd look out from underneath the fender well at me and go, "Are you done yet?" She wasn't going near that road. Every time a car come by, she'd kind of shudder and crawl back underneath the car where it was safe. I said, "Good girl. You're going to live a long time that way, won't you?" Anyway, I usually edit all that out, but for the benefit of all of those who either have or have not had COVID yet, that's COVID day 6, okay? I ordinarily never cough like that in the camera, but this is a demonstration. It's day 6. I'm feeling better, but my nose is all full of mucus and it's dripping into the lungs, and my lungs hurt full of this stuff. It's going to take me days, if not a week, to cough it all out again. But I am feeling somewhat better. With this disease, the way I can monitor, how are you doing, Bill? It's how hard I sweat when I try to do anything. And, well, this morning I checked myself and I said, "Nah, I think I can get at that gate." Yeah, what happened about, a little over a week ago now, all of a sudden I was closing the gate in the evening, this big old alarm went off out there. I went, uh-oh, something's wrong with the gate. Gate wouldn't close. It's stuck. Oh, it's got an alarm, huh? So I went looking for the manual. Well, it looks like the last time I cleaned my files, I made 2 piles. I threw the wrong one out. Yeah, I threw away a few things I didn't want to lose, like I had the entire National Geographic genome assessing my genetic breakdown. It had all been printed out. I threw it out too, apparently, along with the directions. So I didn't even know what the alarms mean exactly, other than it's messed up. Well, I looked things over and I decided I think I either shorted the board or maybe I breached the cylinder. I don't know. Anyway, I said, the heck with it. It's been out there 8 years. I'm buying a brand new one. So I did. And I got, a little bit more than a third of the way through it this morning before it started to sprinkle a little. I started sweating too much, got tired, and said, okay, I'll start again tomorrow, because I'm not really feeling very well. It entailed having to actually fish wires under the driveway. And so it was a bit of a job, and plus the new cylinders are larger than the old cylinders, so I had to remount the brackets. Here I was thinking I could get away with the original brackets, and all I'd have to do is just change the operator. No. I had to do everything all over. Oh well. Yeah, so I got the hardest one done. The one where I got to fish the wire under the driveway is finished now. I will have to start maybe tomorrow or later this evening, if it's not pouring, on re-drilling the gate to hold new mounts for the other operator cylinder. I could clearly see that the thing had failed because one of my cylinders had breached. Oh well, 8 years. Yeah, it's about as long as
any electronic type appliances actually tend to last around here if they're exposed to weather. Sometimes even just exposed to the air in the house, you know. I'm pushing myself a little bit where I probably be resting, but there's a hurricane coming. And if I can't get the gate fixed, the pigs will come in. Pigs running ahead of the hurricane, eating my pineapples, you know. So, yeah, one thing leads to another, right? You let one thing slide, something else, and something else, and something else, and something else. So, it's not going to happen. I got to get this thing fixed before that hurricane hits. No one thinks it's actually going to hit the island, but the rain that it's going to generate could be significant. It's not going to be good weather coming up for installing new electronic gates. Well, the COVID thing, for the most part, I want to thank all of my viewers for getting back to me and going, "Hey, Bill, get well. We're sorry." Thanks. That was good to hear. And I got some interesting information from a few people about, diets, COVID, blah, blah, different things that people had experienced. I got a little more educated. I say that most of the people were very polite, and it appeared most of the people who responded either had never had COVID, or if they had COVID, they got the story and they've been vaccinated or whatever. But there were a few out there. It's still going on, you know. It's hard to believe. Well, initially, with the anti-vaxxer thing and all that, and all the fear and the craziness surrounding the vaccines, and Bill Gates is chipping you and so on, all the silly stupidity. It's still floating. I got a little bit of it. Yeah, I got a little bit of it come back at me. Sometimes I think I did let everybody know I was feeling pretty sick, and that I was also being very grouchy. And so those of you who did not respond politely, if you insulted me, well, you probably got it right back again, because I was in a mood to bite people's heads right off. Keep chewing till the neck was gone. I still am, kind of. This stuff doesn't make me feel very happy, I'll tell you that. Anyhow, we got history now, I had to look up more statistics because people are challenging me. I was told that I got the COVID disease because I took the vaccine. Now, that is the most asinine thing I ever heard. I had to trace that down to find out how that social media BS actually got started. It was misinterpretation of numbers in a Walgreens study. And somebody posted it on Facebook, and it got chaining, and all of a sudden all the anti-vaxxers grabbed hold of some figures that were in there that seemed to indicate that people who'd been vaccinated will get COVID more than people who are unvaccinated, which is not true. Anyway, the good news for everyone, for me too, because maybe I can stop talking about this, but the good news, that original COVID-19, that thing was deadly. It really was. I had it. And anybody who didn't have it, man, you're lucky. Because I had been vaccinated when I got it. All right. And I suspect if I hadn't been, I know I would have been in the hospital. That's for sure. But who knows what else could have happened. The vaccines, by the way, nobody ever claimed that they were going to do anything besides keep you out of the hospital, hopefully. That is pretty much what they did. They did. Because in the original COVID, now it appears that the deaths from the original COVID, the numbers are there, folks. We have history. Okay, you can look at the numbers and the statistics and say, okay, what really did happen? Not what somebody said on Facebook, but what really did happen. The figures for deaths from the original COVID for unvaccinated people were 95 to 99%. Okay, when they entered the hospital with COVID, up to 99% of those people never came back out again. In the case of the vaccinated, the same figures ran between 5 and 8%. dropped dead during the original COVID. So obviously, that's an enormous spread of comfort. And so what everybody said about the vaccines was correct. They were useful. Yeah, they were useful. They weren't a magic bullet, but they were useful. And most of the anti-vaxxer BS that people spread around was all opinion and had no basis in real fact. I mean, there may be small numbers here or there with some allergies or things like this, but in general, all of that has also been proven false. There is no history showing that people were severely damaged by these vaccines. Few allergies out there. Yeah, it's always some numbers somewhere, but it's cost-benefit analysis, folks. Same thing as the auto industry. When Ford decides that they might increase the chances of human death by 3% in an automobile, but they could save 33% in the way they made the car and the cost of it, you better believe cost-benefit analysis falls into play, and they save 33% on the car and 3% more people die on the highway because of it. Well, it's kind of the way life is, too. Man, there's cost-benefit analysis in every action you engage in. Yeah, I don't care whether it's a love affair, whether it's a vaccine, or whether it's a new car. Yeah, sometimes even the clothing I buy irritates my skin. It's like that. Anyway, as I said, the good news, though, and that is that original strain that started this big range war over viruses and politics and masks and vaccines and all that craziness, it was dangerous, very dangerous. The later strains, the mutations, apparently they're getting weaker all the time because, man, this is nothing like the original case of COVID that I had. I was flat on my back weeks, okay? Wondering, wishing that I wasn't here anymore. I was able to work on my gait this morning, and I'm still sick. So it isn't much worse than the kind of combined cold and flu. Yeah, it's not pretty, but it's not going to kill anybody, I don't think. It keeps losing strength. And so those of you who were frightened of vaccines, you're probably not going to need them anymore. Most likely. I haven't had a shot for a number of years. I don't even recall. It's been a long time. I've had 2 cases of COVID since then. All right. I only had 1 case with vaccination. All the rest of the cases were without vaccinations, by the way, people. I had gotten tired of the vaccine thing after a while. Yeah. I get tired of it. So I quit. I'm doing what I usually do, which is trusting my antibodies. Seems to be intelligent enough because I'm getting through this. My antibodies are doing a thing with it. If I have a note, by the way, the discomforts that we get with this, I get a headache, my throat is sore, my nose hurts, my lungs fill, I feel restless. It affected my stomach too, to some extent. Well, I discovered, that when I had the headache, I naturally went for a little bit of Tylenol. Years ago, I had to take an aspirin, but I can't do it anymore. So I went for some Tylenol. And but then I use Delta 8 THC from industrial hemp. Okay, it's illegal in industrial hemp and derived THC. I use it to expand my blood vessels, to lower my blood pressure, and it's also a pretty good sleep aid. So I will use it late in the evenings before I go to bed, and in the mornings sometimes my blood pressure becomes actually normal human because of it. It's pretty amazing. It's a valuable medicine, but. Well, I had realized that it actually, when combined with Tylenol, combine Delta 8 THC with a dose of Tylenol when you have COVID, and it will eliminate a whole lot of the discomfort. Yeah, I started feeling fairly good and this one I actually a couple days ago got started on the gate project. I got out the instructions and started reading things. The next thing you know, I was sweating all over the place. And I said, wait a minute, I'm not well yet. Yeah, I wasn't, but also the Tylenol and the Deltate had worn off, and the feelings of the COVID had come back. So I've been using that. I highly recommend it. It's a Delta 8 THC is derived from industrial hemp. Because it's from industrial hemp, it is legal nationally. There's a source in Ohio, Skyhio.com. That's it. They sell this stuff for $30 an ounce. Very inexpensive medicine. Man, I'll tell you, it's a lot cheaper than my blood pressure pills. Yeah, I'll just take the stuff, and it's hard as tar. It's really thick. I'll heat it. I'll mix it with extra virgin cold-pressed olive oil, and I'll put it in gelatin capsules. And that's the way I take it. So, there's a note for anybody. But for the rest of you, as I said, you didn't want to get vaccinated for one reason or another. You had fear over the whole thing. Like I say, you probably aren't going to need it anymore. Hopefully, the original COVID-19 will never rise its ugly head in our society again. Anybody who gets the stuff now of these latest variants, I think this is probably the flirt. It's weak stuff by comparison. You'll make it. Unless you're compromised, you'll probably make it easily through it. I'm hoping that by the end of 14 days, I should feel like a new man again. This is day 6. I got 8 more to go. At times, I think my viewers have been wondering, what's with Bill on this whole thing with the COVID, and why does he back the government's efforts on this with the vaccines and all this, blah, blah, blah. Everybody else is like, no. Control. Well, it works like this. I think COVID caught most Americans by surprise. I didn't get caught so much by surprise because it started in China and it moved from there across Europe. This took a while. And then from there it moved into the eastern U.S. And finally from there it moved west, and eventually it hit Hawaii. And in the U.S. we were one of the last places to actually start to see the virus. That gave me a lot of time and a lot of headroom to think this whole thing over, whereas other people in London were already choking to death in hospitals. I had nothing to worry about out here in the middle of the Pacific. Well, occasionally I talk about this stuff on the channel. I don't do it much, but I often can see things before they happen, or impressions of things. Okay, and when I looked at COVID, I just had a distinct impression. I said, this is messing with people's minds. This is not just lungs. So I started to look at it. Well, I started first by studying some viruses and said, yeah, that behavior is actually kind of common in virus, that virus will hijack the host. It's mine. Rabies does it, makes the animals aggressive. Gets in the saliva, they want to bite, they spread the virus. Common flu makes human beings extra sociable in the first 24 hours before you have any symptoms whatsoever. Why? Because the virus knows it wants to multiply. So you're going to go out and spread, start drinking with your friends, cough in their face, and everybody gets it. See, it's mind control. Viruses do this. I know most Americans especially don't like the idea that tiny little particles, and bacteriums and yeasts and things are actually in charge oftentimes here. They are. Well, I saw that, and so I started looking at the research in Taiwan. I had a lot of it printed in English, and I could understand it at the medical colleges, and I picked it up right off. There it was. It was affecting the way people thought. And in Taiwan, they had already determined it was random damage to the gut biome that was causing it. your dopamine producing bacteria and stuff were being knocked way out of kilter. By the time we got to Europe, well, we even had people who had lesions in the brain from this stuff, and they were hallucinating. There was a lady in London that had monkeys and lions in her apartment, so obviously psychological problems. When it hit the streets in the U.S., went up in full riot, panic, and explosion. We were screaming in the streets and burning things, okay? I looked at it, I said, You know why they go out there and holler? Because there's a virus that wants to spread itself. And so they had riots across the U.S. They spread the stuff everywhere, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, I was way ahead of most Americans as far as understanding that this is well beyond a lung disease. And it scared the living crap out of me. Yeah. This stuff creates anxiety and depression. Do you know what that means? A whole nation of people biting their fingernails? And politically? Yeah. So, I kind of panicked over it, frankly, and I started talking about it. I got beat up real bad for it. Told I was delusional, psychotic, everything under the sun. Yeah, you name it. Well, actually, the truth is I was right. Well, so what? But, yeah, I was. And so what that means today is, from my point of view, I believe we have a lot of Americans out there at the moment who have had their gut biomes damaged by this virus, and they don't know what happened to them. That's what I think. I have no facts. I just look at society and I go, man, they're restless and people unhappy, Well, so anyhow, like I say, I do believe we have a whole lot of people in this country right now who have had their gut biomes readjusted by COVID, and they don't understand why they feel as grouchy and grumbly and bad as they do. It happened to me from the first COVID-19 infection that I knew there was something wrong. I had lost my energy. Much of my enthusiasm was lacking afterwards. I had to kind of work to keep myself motivated positively, which is not usually a problem for me. I'm generally a reasonably positive person. I understand it's easier, it takes less muscles to smile. Frowning is a lot of work. Lying is even more work. I stick to truth and smiles personally. It's easy because I'm a lazy guy. But when I caught that second case of COVID, I don't know what, but that one really hit me psychologically. Oh, it was bad. And I said, man, I got to do something with this. I can't live this way. And so that's where I started the study that found the fact that there's hope in changing your microbiome diet, and you can bring yourself back by reviving the poor hiding beneficial microbes in your system, and it has worked for me. Yes, and I'm finding that my third case of COVID has not affected me as bad mentally. It has affected me, but at the point now, I would mostly just call it grouchy because it hurt. But, yeah. Anyway, there's my suggestion to y'all. If you've been feeling tired, if you'd had COVID, you might want to look into your microbiome in your gut and readjust your diet, because I do believe that a whole lot of Americans we're already set up for this because so many of us live on fast food, and that's not good for the gut biome. You are already halfway in trouble. Hang loose, folks. Aloha.